Is O.J. Simpson the greatest Bill of all time?
Talent-wise, yes. Talent-wise, yes. Would you put him in front of Jim Kelly, though, in terms of overall greatness? Not skill set, but overall greatness and what you did for the Bills. I think it's hard to do that.
Neither one of them won a Super Bowl.
But what did Jim Kelly do, though? He led them to, what, 4 in a row?
Yeah, I mean, one of the best defenses. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they didn't even get close.
But even outside,
they got close. I guess Norwood, they got close in one of those 4 Super Bowls. The rest of them were pretty much dominated. OJ's the most, in my opinion, he's the most electric, most iconic. Jim Kelly is just getting. I love Jim Kelly, but it's like he's only mentioned because of 4 Super Bowls in a row, which is a good feat as a quarterback, but you couldn't get one of those. To me, that's a telltale sign. I believe OJ would have won a Super Bowl if he was a running back in 4 in a row. He would have got one of them. He was so dominant. I mean, this cat. Remember, people don't want to break this down like a football person would. Let me break it down. Why I believe OJ is number 1 for me. Let me just give you my opinionated why OJ would be 1 for me.
Over Bruce Smith.
Yes.
Okay.
The era. So let's talk about the era. Okay. Now we talked about OJ's era. Probably not as athletic as Bruce Smith's era and Jim Kelly's era. The athletes got better and all that, but they're pretty similar in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is Buffalo Bills played all outside games, and they played 14 games versus what the NFL turned into. This dude ran for 2,000 yards a season in a 14-game season, all outdoors in weather. So go ahead and compare that to any other running back, any other person out there. He is literally, in my opinion, the most deserving to be at the top of the Mount Rushmore of OJ, of the Buffalo Bills.
Do you know how hard 200 sacks is, though?
But you know how hard 2,000 yards is in 14 games? Do the math.
Yeah, but I don't know, bro. I think that's easier than 200 sacks.
Fuck, no, 200 sacks is over time.
But, okay, think about that. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I have to look it up. He played, how many years did Bruce play in the league? Was it?
Shit. I think 15, 16? I'm not sure.
19 seasons, right?
Almost 20 years. Look at how many years OJ played, bro.
Okay, but all right, let's round up to 20. Let's call it 20. He had 200 sacks. So that means this man averaged he averaged 10 sacks for 20 years, for every single season. Do you know how hard that is to do? Not to mention the Bills played, I think the majority of his career, if I'm not mistaken, a 3-4. He was a 3-4 end. He wasn't like some 4-3. He was like a 3-4 end, getting busy and stopped the run. That's not like Bruce.
They played at 42. They still had Darryl Talley most of those years. They had a great defense. I don't believe OJ. Let me ask you this question, and this is how I kind of break it down. When OJ played on the Buffalo Bills, was he the best player on his Buffalo Bills team when he was there?
Yeah.
When Jim Kelly played on his Buffalo Bills teams, was he the best player on those teams?
Nah.
So how is he the best all time?
Yeah, I hear you. I just, quarterbacks y'all just naturally get the.
But that's what I'm saying. We're giving him a pass because he went to 4 Super Bowls. He wasn't even close to being the best player. He wasn't better than Bruce Smith. If you had to pick out of a line, he wasn't better than Andre Reed, Talley. He wasn't better than Thurman Thomas. There's no way. OJ was unequivocally the greatest Buffalo Bill player when he played. It's not close. And we can argue he's a top 4 or 5 running back of all time. What he did, when he did it, the years he played. You can argue him and Jim Brown. Barry Sanders cut it off early. Eddie George cut it off early. I'm thinking about running backs that could have been really, really special with statistical lines that never could have been matched. OJ, Jim Brown, Barry, if they didn't quit or retire, the statistics would never be matched in any one of those guys. And I believe Eddie George could have had great numbers if he'd have kept playing. Eddie George cut it off early as hell. So
but all those are hypothetical, and we don't know. And I do know running back is a position where you can be on top and out of nowhere just drop because you get hit so many times. So I can't assume those guys would have just maintained that. I don't know. All that I can look at are the facts. And the fact is, he is one of the greatest running backs of all time. And you do make a good point. He was the best player on his team. But it just, I don't know. I think quarterbacks, you guys get a separate pass, though. Like, even when I think about, like, I'm not to switch gears, but just use as an example. I think about, like, the Giants. You know, like, to me, Eli wasn't the best player on his teams, but he had the biggest impact in terms of those 2 Super Bowl wins. And we know what that meant for the city. So one may argue that, you know, Eli might be ahead of, I don't know, Michael Strahan. I'm just throwing a name out there. Like, obviously, Strahan was better than Eli, like, clearly. But in terms of impacts and what you did for the team in a position that you played, quarterback is such a vital position, the most vital position, that I think when you play that position and you have extreme success, that you get, like, extra points versus, like, a great DB or a great receiver or a great whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only reason why I even mentioned Jim Kelly.
Yeah, I just like, if you got to be the greatest of a franchise, you got to be special. Like, Jim Kelly was a nutty, gutty, like, fucking blue collar, fucking. He belonged in Buffalo, man. Go steel mill worker, like that motherfucker beat cancer how many times? Like, this dude's a no hands down fucking great. I love Jim Kelly, but I can't bump him above OJ as far as best player ever.
Is Jim Kelly the best quarterback so far in Bills history? It's like right now today? Or are you already putting Josh past him?
Now, Bills haven't had a great lineage of quarterbacks. They got Hostetler had a few. Hostetler, not Hostetler. Because Hostetler was in New York with the Giants when he kind of replaced Phil Simms, and then he went on a run. And Buffalo was fucking a team that had Jim Kelly and lost to a guy like Hostetler across the bay. And Hostetler wins in New York when Jim Kelly could not win. And I'm looking at, like, how does Hostetler win a Super Bowl and Jim Kelly can't get it done, yet we're going to call him the GOAT in that franchise? I just don't get it. You can't lose to a Hostetler at that time. Phil Simms is one thing, even though Phil Simms, but Hostetler, during your tenure, it's a bad look if you look at the comparisons. So Jim Kelly loses some things to me just on some real talk.
Yeah.
Doug Flutie came over to Buffalo later, never really flourished, coming from San Diego. Yeah, Kelly would have to be.
It has to be Jim Kelly right now. I think Josh Allen will have the opportunity to pass on, but right now, today, you got to put Jim Kelly. So I agree.
Yeah, just haven't had any quarterbacks.
Yeah. That's a good question, though. Definitely a fun topic to have, man. I see the chat kind of, they're mixed. I saw some Bruce Smiths. I saw some Kellys. I saw a few of them all in here. So definitely a great question to set it up.